If you're a GCSE student going into A-levels now, or a year 12 student going into year 13, you've probably heard about that dreadful paper 1 this year. That paper was rated so bad in terms of difficulty that literally thousands of people signed a petition to try and get the examiners to kind of review it. Now, results day just passed, and so a good question to ask now is, this paper was extremely difficult. So how did the difficulty of this paper actually reflect in the final results of people this year? And is there an indication that these grade boundaries are just unfair? The first thing you need to look at is the grade boundaries themselves. Now, I did a similar but different analysis in a separate video, so make sure to check that out. But for the purpose of this video, as you can see, the number of raw marks required to get an A* was steadily rising over the years since 2022. And what this hints at is the paper's becoming more and more accessible. But then we see a slight drop this year. So why did this drop happen in the first place? Well, probably it was due to paper 1. But the thing is, surely if paper 1 was really that bad, right, we probably would have seen a much bigger drop. I mean, don't get me wrong, 258 to 254 is still a drop. But in relative terms, that drop is not that bad at all. In fact, 254 is the second highest grade boundary here. And what this suggests is that the difficulty of this exam series was actually less difficult compared to the years prior from 2022. And those years from 2022 up to now didn't cause the same amount of controversy. So what happens now if we go a bit more granular and we investigate the difference between each paper and how that maybe explains something here. So just a quick disclaimer, I'm not Pearson Edexcel's official stats guy, but here's what happens if we dig a little bit deeper here, guys. Right, so we get into the meat and potatoes. Okay, what we're looking at is this part here, right? Right, so yeah, paper 1, paper 2. As you can see here, right, the amount you need to get an A* for paper 1 appears to be a lot less, okay, than paper 2. Paper 2 compared to paper 1 and paper 3 seems to be a lot more accessible, right? And at least from my experience, this is what several students have told me, they indicated that paper 2 was significantly easier. Now, I know there was a petition for paper 2 as well, but I can only speak from experience that, anecdotally at least, people were telling me that paper 2 was easier. And this seems to back it up in the data as well here, right? Because, I mean, look, to get an A*, you need to get 81 in paper 1, and then for paper 2, it's 87. For an A, we've got 75, okay, and an A for paper 1 is 67. So what this tells us, at least like what you can guess, again, this isn't like verified or anything, but what it seems like the data is telling us here, at least from my interpretation, is that paper 2 is acting like a sort of counterweight here. Because paper 1, obviously, anecdotally, very difficult, and in the mark scheme itself, so not the mark scheme, but the actual numbers, it is obviously less accessible compared to paper 2, right? So what this seems to infer is that paper 2 is probably acting as a sort of counterweight here, okay, to kind of offset the difficulty of paper 1, to ensure that the final raw mark isn't too low. Okay, so as a result, when you see the grade boundary drop, but not that much, it's probably because internally what we see, and again, it's not verified, but this is just from what the numbers seem to tell us. Internally, at least, it seems that paper 2 counteracted the difficulty. Interestingly enough as well, for paper 3, right, what paper 3 seems to be doing here as well is for the A*, right, right at the very top, it seems to mimic paper 2, but obviously in the middle cohorts now, it's much closer to paper 1. Right, so this also seemed to be a much more difficult paper, except of course for those who were at the top of the cohort. So what's the conclusion here? Well, the conclusion seems to be that no, grade boundaries have basically acted pretty consistently, and it seems that this one this year also acted pretty much in lockstep with the grade boundaries before. It broke the pattern, but that was mainly because obviously the raw marks were less, so it adjusted, which means it was working fine. And interestingly enough, this year actually saw more A stars than last year. Now I know obviously in this video I've talked about pretty much just the Edexcel marks, and the stat I just mentioned reflects the entire A-level entry, but it's just an interesting stat regardless. Now the thing is, this video has been pretty short and on a fairly narrow topic, so if you want to understand the difficulty of A-level maths throughout the years and what that can mean for future papers, make sure to click the link below in the description where these grade boundaries are broken down in a lot more detail for you.